Anybody, what's a rational number? I've got all day. The longer it takes you to answer, the shorter amount of time you're gonna have to do the whole set because nobody's participating. What is a rational number? A rational number. Keith Stewart, you were very excited a moment ago.
Number that makes sense.
It does make sense. In order to define a rational number, you should probably tell me what's an irrational number. Because to me, irrational numbers kind of make sense, they just don't make complete sense. But really, the best way to define them is by examples. What's irrational, what's not rational. Jenna Dervis.
Real numbers that can be expressed as a fraction of two integers.
Wow, look at her. Yeah. A rational number is any number you can make a fraction. Okay. A irrational number then would be any number you can't really make a fraction. And really, in our box, our short list of irrational numbers are, oh my god, I only threw a few things at you. Jaden. Pi, which is up over there because it's a non-repeating, non-terminating, non-repeating, non-terminating, non-ending decimal. And Isabel.
Square root that don't work out.
Yeah, something that doesn't work out like the square root of 2, the square root of 8, the square root of 15. Anything that doesn't have a perfect square answer, okay? So we are looking, though, at rational numbers today. We're not talking about these. And the key to that is, if you have a rational number, you should always be able to make a fraction out of it. And it scares me to think, but this section deals with you using a little bit of common sense, okay? Here's example. Write this down. How much is 40% of 1/2 of $12? Uh-oh. Somebody? No. Clap, Elijah. Clap once. Oh, no, you don't have the magic clap. Riley? You don't have the magic clap. Isabel? There, thank you. Okay. So here's the problem. Oh, wait. I missed, oh, I'm sorry, of 1/2 of $12. I missed, sorry, I gotta rewrite this because I missed something in the midst of all that. Of 1/2 of $12. Okay. And the deal with this is this. First of all, you should know that the word of means, so all you're doing is you're multiplying these three quantities or these three things together. But you'll notice that they're all written in different forms. This is in percent, that's in fraction, that's in decimal. Okay? The whole point of this lesson, and these are all rational, okay, there's nothing irrational about this, they all make sense. The whole point of this lesson is for you to say which one, the book calls it selecting the appropriate. What form do I want to make these really that makes it easiest to do and for me to understand? First of all, we don't do well with percent, so you have to either change that to a fraction or a decimal. Okay? So the question really is, should I make all of these fractions? Should I make them all decimals? That would be your only choices at this point. And don't always go with decimals because then sometimes fractions are actually easy to work with. You might not think so, but I can tell you, I think in this case to me, I would make them fractions. Why? Well, 40% is 4 over 10, which is 2/5 times 1/2 times 12 over 1. Tell me how much easier this gets. The 2's cross off. You're left with 12 over 5. They are asking for money though, because it's half of $12. How many times is 5 going over 12? 2 point. I have to do it for you. 5 goes on 12, 10. $2.40. Yes, you could do decimals. If you did decimals, you'd have to go what? 0.4 times 0.5 times 12, which will still give you the same thing because 0.4 times 0.5 is, somebody? 0.20 times 12 which is $2.40. Now, this case, it isn't so matter, and I couldn't tell you you picked the wrong way. If you wanted to do it as a decimal, I would say that's fine. If you wanted to do it as a fraction. However, when you come to one that looks like this, though, you don't have many choices. How much is 66 2/3% of 5/6 of $12? Okay. The reason you don't have the choice to change this into decimals is why? Cameron Colquitt? No, it's not irrational. It's still rational. Still rational, but why not? Why can't you change this into decimals? Jaden?
5, 6 doesn't even
Well, it ends up being what?
irrational.
No, these are all rational numbers. The title of what we're talking about is all right. This is a rational number. This is a rational number. Why? Because I can make both of them fractions. That was our definition. This already is a fraction, by the way. And this one, if you happen to look on your little cheat sheet, I'm pretty sure it's there. Is it not? Lainey, what is it? No, that's a decimal.
Oh.
On the fraction. What?
2/3.
2/3. 2/3 times 5, 6 times 12/1. The reason you can't make it in the decimal form is because it is a repeating decimal. Please understand this. If you were to do this out, you would have to keep writing sixes forever for this because it is 0.6 repeater. Understand, a repeating decimal is a rational number. All repeating decimals can be written in fraction form. An irrational number is a non-repeating, non-ending decimal. This is a non-ending, but it does repeat. If your decimal repeats somewhere, somehow, you can change it into fraction form. By the way, if you look at lesson number 100 and something, we actually learn how to change repeating decimals into fractions. It's somewhere in there. But we probably won't get that till next year. It should be like here. So when you see something like this, your only option is to change it to a fraction because you cannot do mathematical calculations with repeating decimals. You can do them with fractions, but you can't do them with repeating decimals because how do I multiply something by 0.6 that number ends? Now granted, you'll get awful close to it, but you'll never get it exact. So when you see, what fractions, when you see, do you have to leave as fractions? 1/3. What other fractions are repeating fractions? 1/9, which is what? What's 1/9 as a decimal? 0.1 repeater. 8/9, 0.8 repeater. 1/12. Wait, 1/12 doesn't. Does 1/12 repeat? Is it 1/12? If you divide 12 into 1, what do you get? 0.08 is 96. 40, you get what? 3 is 36? Yeah. 1/12 as a repeating decimal is 0.08 repeating 3. It's still a rational number. But if you see this pop up in your homework, in order to do mathematical calculations with it, you have to turn it back to the fraction 1/12. And that's why they say you have to be able to figure out when would I change this, when do I have to change that to a fraction? I can't leave it as a decimal because I can't work with a 0.6 repeater. By the way, what's the answer to this? Now, 6 goes into 12 twice. You end up with what, 5 times 2 times 2, 20/3, which is what, $6 and what?
67 cents.
Is it? Is that what the book said? Is that because I had to round? Must have had to round. So again, I get kind of close. You're saying, hey, throw me another one.
Hey,
Look at page 500. Well, look at page 565. Let's just talk about those. Look at practice letter A, where it says find 20% of 1/4 of $12. Would you change those all to decimals? Would you change them all to fractions? Or doesn't it matter? Is it your own personal choice for that one? Who's got an opinion somewhere? Maddie Roth. What would you do? Practice A, where it's 20% of 1/4 of $12.
Fraction.
You would change it to fraction. Would somebody change it to a decimal? Doesn't matter. No, that one is your personal choice. Whatever one you think is easier. Letter B though, 33 1/3% of 3/8 of $12. You have no choice but to change it to what, Riley?
Decimal,
No,
fraction.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Why? Because 33 1/3% is what is a decimal? Somebody? 0.3 repeating. 33 1/3% is 0.3 repeating, and you can't do mathematical calculations with a repeating decimal. You need to change it in its fraction form. What about letter C? Find 80% of $21.50. Would you change 80% to a fraction or a decimal, or why? Elijah?
Decimal,
Why?
because, it's $21.50, it's not.
Okay, that's probably a good reason. You could do it as a fraction, but I definitely, that case I would do it as 0.8 times that because they'll both be in decimal form. What about letter D? 25% of $24. 25% of $24. Somebody give me a reason why they would do one thing or another. See, sometimes people you have to think on your own. Carol Winkleman, quickest way to do that would be,
Fraction.
I would too. Why fraction? Yeah, because 25% is 1/4, and what's 1/4 of 24? You should be able to figure that out, huh? $6. Now, if you change that to 0.25, which you can do, but what's 0.25 times 25, or 0.25 times 24? Can you do that one in your head very well? No. See, I'm here to make your life easier. All right, what about the last one? Which expression is the most appropriate rational number to announce a discount of $14 from a regular price of $40? In the store, would you see the sign that says save 7/20ths? Or would you see a sign that says save 0.35? Or would you see a sign that says save 35%? Going into a store, Jaden. Oh, did you say? Oh, yeah, it's 35%. Why? Because saving fractions nobody sees, and decimals, yeah. There's not a right or wrong way to do any of this, but there's certainly a different